Welcome to this session. In this session, we will discuss 4 problems that were there in the quiz that was scheduled, that was conducted on 20th of August. The 4 questions essentially gave you certain premises and asked the students to identify the conclusion. Now do not worry if you are not part of the group that was allowed to take on that quiz. I will be discussing the questions in entirety over here. So even if you are not present for that, or even if you are not part of the group, you will not lose anything. You will be able to understand the quiz and the solutions completely. So let's jump directly in. This quiz actually talked about using the rules of inferences to check the validity of the arguments and come at a particular conclusion. Now what was special in these 4 questions was that the argument premises were given, but the conclusion was not given. And conclusion was to be identified based on the different premises and rules of inference. So let's start. The first question was basically a type of a treasure hunt. It said that in the back of a old cupboard you discover a note signed by a pirate famous for his bizarre sense of humor and love of logical puzzles. In the note he wrote that he had hidden treasure somewhere on the property. 5 clues were given, right? Now these 5 clues, this is the first clue A, B. The first clue says if this house is next to a lake, then the treasure is not in the kitchen. The basic idea being that there is some treasure hidden somewhere near your house or within your house, and the location of the treasure has been identified with the help of 5 clues that you have obtained through, let us say, certain treasure map or certain old document. Now you have to check these 5 clues, you have to use these 5 clues and use the different rules of inferences to find the treasure. The first clue says if the house is next to a lake, then the treasure is not in the kitchen. The second clue says if the tree in the front yard is an elm tree, then the treasure is in the kitchen. The third clue says the house is next to a lake. The fourth clue says the tree in the front yard is an elm or the treasure is behind the flagpole. And the fifth clue says if the tree in the backyard is an oak, then the treasure is in the garage. Now, before I actually start solving the question, if you see this question, these are the 5 premises. And if I talk about the conclusion, see what can be the conclusion? The conclusion can be the treasure is in the garage. This can be one of the conclusion. Treasure is behind under the flagpole. This can be one of the conclusions. And treasure is in the kitchen. This can be one of the conclusions. So it is a good idea to first have a first-hand idea of what can be the conclusions. What are the various possibilities for the conclusion? Now, based on this question, now first of all what we will do is we will identify the we will first define the propositions and then we will write the premises formally. Okay, so we say that this says if the house is next to a lake, so we identify the premises house is next to a lake, treasure is not in the kitchen, we write it as treasure is in the kitchen. We will use a negation over here. If the tree in the front yard is an elm, this is another proposition. The tree is buried under the flagpole, this is another proposition. Tree in backyard is an oak, another proposition. And treasure is in the garage, yet another proposition. Now that I have identified 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 propositions, the next task that I will do is I will write or I will rewrite or translate these premises that have been given to me informally in formal member. Now please remember, I can use, first of all I'll convert them like this, and then I can use both the methods. I can use a truth table method to identify the conclusion, to check whether the critical rows are there, and then I can find what are the various rows. I will assume that the arguments are consistent, the arguments are correct, and then I will identify the critical rows, or I can go with the rules of inference method. Right. So the first premise says if the house is next to a lake, that is P, if P, then the treasure is not in the kitchen, then not Q. So this becomes my first premise. If the tree in the front yard is an elm, that is if R, then the treasure is in the kitchen, then Q, this becomes my second premise. The house is next to a lake, P, this becomes my third premise. The tree in the front yard is an elm, R, or the treasure is buried under the flagpole, S, this becomes my next premise. And the last one, the tree in the backyard is an oak, if T, then the treasure is in the garage, then U, this becomes my fifth premise. Now that I have identified the 5 premises, the first being P implies negation of Q, second being R implies Q, third being P, fourth being R or S, and the fifth one being T implies U. Now I will use the different rules of inferences to identify the conclusion. But before I start that, please understand that the conclusion can either be Q or S or U. These are the 3 possibilities for the conclusion. The treasure is in the kitchen, the treasure is buried under the flagpole, or the treasure is under garage. Now the house is next to a lake cannot be a conclusion. The conclusion is identified by the task that you are starting out to achieve. So the task over here is to find the treasure. Now what are the 3 possible locations of the treasure? First location is kitchen, second is garage, third is buried under the flagpole. So these are the 3 possible conclusions. So my task is to use the rules of inferences on these premises and see whether I can infer Q or S or U from these premises. Let's start. So I have P implies negation of Q, R implies Q, P, R or S, T or U. These are the given premises. Given premises, right? Now I have P implies negation of Q and negation of, I have P implies negation of Q and I have P. I have P implies negation Q, which is the premise A, and I have P, which is the premise C. Now I can apply modus ponens on these two to come out as Q, negation of Q. So negation of Q tells me that this cannot be the conclusion. So that means the treasure is not in the kitchen. Now I have R implies Q and I have negation of Q. I have R implies Q, which is the given premise B, and I have Q, which I have obtained by the application of modus ponens on 1 and 3. So from these two, from 2 and 6, using modus tollens, I get negation of R. I have R implies Q and I have negation of Q, and by using modus tollens I come up to negation of R. Now I have R or S as the given premise. See, this is the given premise D, so I have R or S and I have negation of R. I can use disjunctive syllogism, R or Q and negation of P, so I have disjunctive syllogism and I get S, which is one of the conclusions which says the treasure is buried under the flagpole. So this is the required conclusion. Now before we move on to the next question, see one thing in this question. This particular premise T implies U, this was not used at all. This was not used for the purpose of any inference. So we can say that this was a misleading clue. So it is not necessary that each and every premise will be used in coming to a conclusion. There might be premises which are not used at all. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. It says you are about to leave for school in the morning and discover you don't have your glasses. This is something that happens to me quite often. You know the following statements are true. If my glasses are on the kitchen table, then I saw them at breakfast. I was reading the newspaper in the living room, or I was reading the newspaper in the kitchen. If I was reading the newspaper in the living room, then my glasses are on the coffee table. I did not see my glasses at breakfast. If I was reading my book in bed, then my glasses are on the bed table. If I was reading the newspaper in the kitchen, then my glasses are on the kitchen table. Now see, there are three possibilities for the location of my glasses over here. By looking at this, I can see that my glasses can be on the coffee table, or my glasses can be on the kitchen table, or my glasses can be on the bed table. So these are the possible conclusions: kitchen table, coffee table, or bed table. So first of all, once again, we'll go through the same process. We'll first identify the propositions, rewrite the premises, apply the inference rules, and then come up to the conclusions. Where are the glasses, right? So identifying the propositions, my glasses are on the kitchen table. This is a possible conclusion. I saw my glasses at breakfast. I was reading the newspaper in the living room. I was reading the newspaper in the kitchen. My glasses are in the coffee table. Possible conclusion. Possible conclusion. I was reading the book in bed. Possible conclusion. So these are the three possible conclusions. Now what we'll do, we'll rewrite these premises mathematically. First of all says, if my glasses are on the kitchen table, if P, then I saw them at breakfast. I saw my glasses at breakfast. If P, then Q, right? So this A can be written as this. I was reading the newspaper in the living room, R, or I was reading the newspaper in the kitchen, or S, R or S. If I was reading the newspaper in the living room, if R, then my glasses are on the coffee table. If R, then T. I did not see my glasses at breakfast, negation of Q. If I was reading my book in bed, negation of U. If I was reading my book in bed, if U, then my glasses are on the bed table, then V. If I was reading the newspaper in the kitchen, if S, then my glasses are on the kitchen table, then P. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I had made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 propositions. By using these 7 propositions, I have rewritten these 6 premises formally. Now we will use the laws of inferences on these 6 premises to find out the conclusion. Now I have P implies Q. This is the proposition number, the premise number 1, negation of Q, which let us call this the premise number A. This is the premise number D, and from A and D, by applying modus tollens, I can say negation of P. See, P implies Q, negation Q, so I get negation of P. Negation of P tells me that my glasses are not on the kitchen table. See, the 3 possible conclusions can be, this is a possible conclusion, then my glasses are on the coffee table. Another possible conclusion, my glasses are on the bed table. The possible conclusions are P, T and V. These are the possible conclusions. So we apply modus tollens on these 2 to get negation of P. That tells me that my glasses are not on the kitchen table. So this conclusion is off the table. Next, I have S implies P. This is the premise F, and negation P, which I obtained from here. Once again, by applying modus tollens, I get negation of S, right? Then I have R or S. This is the proposition B, premise B, and negation S, which I obtained from here, and applying disjunctive syllogism on these 2, I get R. Now I have R implies T, which is the premise C, and I have R, which I have obtained from here. So by using modus ponens, I get the conclusion T. So you need to keep on solving the premises by using the different rules of inferences till you come to a specific conclusion, which is part of the possible conclusion set. So T tells me my glasses are on the coffee table. Thank God, now I can go to school or I can go to college. Right? Let's move on to the next problem. Yeah, this is an interesting one. Sherlock Holmes. This paragraph actually comes from the story Study in Scarlet by A. Conan Doyle, which, if you might know, is the author of Sherlock Holmes. Now this question is a little bit different and little bit difficult because the premises here are not given in a precise manner. They have not been listed. Let's go through the paragraph. It says, and now we come, this is supposedly being said by Sherlock Holmes to, I believe, Dr. Watson. And now we come to the great question as to reason why robbery has not been the object of this murder, for nothing was taken. Was it politics or was it about a woman? That is the question confronting me. I was inclined from the first to the later supposition, political assassins are only too glad to do their work and fly. This murderer had on the contrary been done some most deliberately, and the perpetrator has left his track all over the room, showing he had been there all the time. Now, you have to read the paragraph very carefully to identify the propositions and the premises. So, we'll identify the propositions. P, it was a robbery. Robbery, nothing was taken, indicates that another proposition can be something was taken. Reason can be it was politics. Another proposition can be it was a woman. Political assassins are only too glad to do their work and fly. That means the fly means they basically leave very quickly or immediately. So this is another proposition. The assassins left tracks all over the room. So these are the various propositions. Now let us try to identify the premises. And premises say, if it was a robbery, robbery was not the object of this murder, for nothing was taken. This actually says if the motive of the murder was robbery, then something could have been taken. So if it was robbery, then something was taken. This is the first premise. Was it politics or was it about a woman? Was it politics or was it about a woman? The question. Political assassins are only too glad to do their work and fly. If it was politics, then the assassin will leave immediately. R implies T. So these two premises have identified. Nothing was taken. Nothing was taken means it is negation of Q. Robbery was not the murder. That means if it is not robbery, then it could have been politics or about a woman. So if it was not robbery, negation of P, it implies it was politics or it was about a woman. So negation P implies R or S. This is another premise. Then it says perpetrator had led the tracks all over the room, showing he had been there all the time. So it was not political. So it says assassins had left tracks all over the room. That means U implies negation of T. He did not leave immediately. So U implies T is another. If the assassin left immediately, then he would not have left his track. That means the assassin left tracks all over the room. That shows that he has not left immediately. So U implies negation T, and the assassin has actually left tracks all over the room. That means U. So these are the different premises. Now we solve the premises. P implies Q and negation Q by applying modus tollens give me negation of P. So before actually let's come back over here. Now what are the possible motives? It was robbery, it was politics, it was about a woman. So P, R or S are the possible conclusions. It is very important to identify what can be the possible conclusions, because if you do not identify the conclusions, you will keep on applying the rules of inferences indefinitely. But once you know what can be the possible conclusions, as soon as you come up to one of the various conclusion propositions, you can stop your work over there. So P implies Q and negation Q, you apply modus tollens, you get negation of P. That means this cannot be the motive of the murder. Then negation P implies R or S. This is the given premise. This is the given premise. And negation P that I have obtained over here. So I get R or S from modus ponens. Now I have R or S. Then U implies negation of T. U implies negation of T, once again a given premise, and U again a given premise. I apply modus ponens and I get negation of T. Negation of T, which says assassin did not leave immediately. Now R implies T, again a given premise, and negation T, I can apply modus tollens to get at negation of R. So negation of R, it was not politics. So although I can just say from here also that 2 out of 3 conclusions have been cancelled out, so it can only be the third one, but let us identify it formally. I have R or S, I have negation of R, so I have S by applying disjunctive syllogism. So this is the conclusion. So the murder was actually about a woman, right? That brings us to the last question. Once again a murder mystery, but this time the detective Philip Poirot was called in to solve a baffling murder mystery. The Lord Hazelton, the murdered man, was killed by a blow on the head with a brass candlestick. Either Lady Hazelton or a maid Sarah was in the dining room at the time of the murder. These are the various clues that were given. If the cook was in the kitchen at the time of murder, then the butler killed Lord Hazelton with a fatal dose of strychnine. Then butler killed Lord Hazelton. This is one of the possible conclusions. If Lady Hazelton was in dining room, then the chauffeur killed. Another possible conclusion. If the cook was not in the kitchen at the time of murder, then Sarah was not in the dining room. If Sarah was in the dining room, then the wine steward killed Lord Hazelton. Another possible conclusion. So once again, we'll follow the same process. We will identify propositions. P, Lord Hazelton was killed by a blow on the head. Q, Lady Hazelton was in the dining room. R, Sarah was in the dining room. S, cook was in the kitchen. T, butler killed. U, chauffeur killed. V, wine steward killed. So we have identified the propositions. Then we can rewrite the premises formally. Lord Hazelton was killed by a blow on the head with a brass candlestick. P, either Lady Hazelton or Sarah was in the dining room. Q or R, Lady Hazelton was in the dining room, Sarah was in the dining room. If the cook was in the kitchen, then the butler killed. If the cook was in the kitchen, then butler killed. S implies T. If Lady Hazelton was in dining room, then chauffeur killed. If Q, then U. If the cook was not in the kitchen, then Sarah was not in the dining room. Negation of S implies negation of R. And finally, if Sarah was in the dining room, then the wine steward. R implies V. Now, using the various laws of inferences, I have P, Q or R, S implies T, Q implies T, negation S implies negation R. These are the given premises, right? Now, I have P, Q or R, S implies T. These are the various rules of inference. The various Now, let's apply a little bit of a common sense. If P is true, if the Lord Hazelton was killed by a blow on the head with a brass candlestick, then the butler could not have killed Lord Hazelton with a false dose of strychnine. So, if P is true, as is the case, that is, it has been given to us, then T cannot be true. So, we have a inference over here without applying any laws of inference. If P is true, then T cannot be true. So, I have negation of T and I have S implies T. So, I can apply modus tollens on these two to come up to negation of S. Now, I have negation S implies negation R and I have negation S that I have just obtained. Then I can apply modus ponens on these two to come up to negation of R. See, what are the possible conclusions? T, U, V. Out of the 3, I have discounted, I have eliminated T. Now, I get negation of R. I have Q or R, that is this premise, and I have negation of R, and applying regenerative syllogism on these two, I get Q. Q means Lady Hazelton was actually in the dining room at the time of the murder. Now, if I have Q implies U and I have Q, I can use modus ponens on the two to get U. U says the chauffeur killed the Lord Hazelton. So we have identified the murderer. So this way you can use the laws of inferences to identify the conclusion even if it is not given and only the premises are given. Right? Thank you.